This is the story of gwogwogwongwom, the story of love, friendship, betrayal, and revenge. In the days that followed, Emeka's mind was consumed with thoughts of vengeance. The pain of betrayal weighed heavily on him, and everywhere he turned, there were reminders of Christian's treachery and Ulimma's choice. He couldn't stop replaying the moment he found out, the bitterness festering inside him. Despite the deep wound in his heart, Emeka was a military man, strategic, patient, and dangerous when provoked. He would not act hastily, but he knew he had to act. The first thing Emeka did was distance himself. He avoided Christian and Ulimma, cutting all contact with his former friend. He refused to acknowledge their marriage or be drawn into their lives. People in the village noticed his silence, but Emeka was not one to air his grievances publicly. He knew how to bide his time, waiting for the right moment to strike. As he stood in anger, Emeka crafted his plan carefully. He knew Christian's strengths and weaknesses. He had been his closest friend after all. Christian's biggest weakness, Emeka realized, was his political ambition. Christian was rising in influence, becoming a well-known figure in the political scene. His reputation was his greatest asset. Emeka knew that the best way to hurt Christian was to destroy that reputation and by extension his power and influence. Emeka began his revenge. He started spreading rumors, whispers about Christian's integrity. He did it quietly, ensuring that his involvement was never traced. He spoke to key figures in the political cycles Christian moved in, planting seeds of doubt. "I used to be close to Christian," he would say, with a sad shake of his head. "But the things I have seen, his ambition knows no bounds. He is not the man he appears to be." The rumors grew, and soon people began to question Christian's character. Emeka knew how to manipulate people's perceptions, especially in the political world where image was everything. Christian's reputation began to tarnish. From the part where Christian came from, politics was a dirty game, so Emeka's defamation did next to nothing as Christian scored high in the pool to win an election. Emeka's next move was more personal. He knew that even though Christian had married Ulimma, love could be fragile, especially under pressure. So he reached out to Ulimma in secret, reminding her of his presence, but not in an obvious way. He did not express anger towards her. Instead, he played on her emotions, showing himself as the victim of a betrayer. Whenever they crossed paths, Emeka's gaze was filled with hurt rather than anger. He made sure she could see the pain in his eyes. He also sent word through mutual friends, telling them how much he had loved Ulimma, how devastated he was by her decision. "She deserves better than Christian," he would say, letting the thought linger. He knew that Ulimma, though married to Christian, might start to question her choices, especially if things become difficult in their marriage due to the political pressure Emeka was exerting on Christian. Years passed, and Emeka moved on with his life. though the betrayal still lingered in the back of his mind, never truly forgotten. After the heartbreak with Ulimma, he eventually found love again, marrying a woman named Nneka, who was both kind-hearted and intelligent. Nneka brought Emeka peace, helping to heal the emotional wounds left by Christian's betrayal. She stood by his side as he rose through the ranks in the military. Her unwavering support provided him with the stability he needed. Emeka's career flourished. His reputation as a disciplined and skilled officer grew with each assignment, and soon he earned a distinguished rank, gaining the respect of his peers and superiors alike. He became a man of power, one whose influence extended not just within the military, but also in the political and social circles. Yet, despite all his success, Emeka could never fully shake the memory of what Christian had done. The pain of betrayal was like a scar, faded but always there. Emeka and Nneka built a good life together. They had children. His home was filled with love and warmth. But whenever he sat quietly or when he passed by Christian's house, the old wounds resurfaced. He could not forget the sight of Christian standing beside Ulimma. Emeka had waited for years, biding his time, watching from a distance as Christian's life unfolded. His betrayal was always in the back of Emeka's mind, like a slow burning ember that never fully extinguished. As the years passed, he built his power and reputation in the military, becoming a feared warlord, while Christian climbed the political ladder, becoming the Governor General of the state. But fate had a strange way of aligning things. Olaedo, the daughter of Christian and Ulimma, grew into a striking beauty, more captivating than her mother ever was. Her charm was irresistible, and her grace, combined with her intelligence, made her the talk of the town. After winning the prestigious Most Beautiful Woman contest in Gwogwogwongwom, she became a public figure, admired and sought after by many men. But despite the constant attention, Olaedo rejected all suitors. She was fiercely independent and had grown beyond being just the daughter of a politician. She was her own person, a woman of vision, and one who wanted more than just admiration. She wanted security, power, and influence. This was the perfect moment for Emeka to strike. As a renowned military officer with vast influence and control over security forces, Emeka saw his chance. He approached Olaedo not with flattering or false promises, but the one thing she needed: power. He offered her the strength of his military network, protection that only a man of his status could provide, and the assurance that as his wife, she would not only be admired, but also respected as the partner of a warlord. Olaedo, sharp and discerning, saw in Emeka the key to a life of influence that no other man could offer. She respected his power and recognized his strategic mind, qualities that she knew would ensure her security. Despite her father's protest, she made her own decision. Emeka would be her husband. When Christian learned of this, he was devastated. His heart ached with the thought of his daughter, his beloved Olaedo, marrying the man he once called a brother. a man who had become his bitter enemy. He could not comprehend how things had come to full cycle, how the man he had wronged years ago was now poised to take away the one person he cherished above all else, his daughter. Christian confronted Olaedo, his anger barely contained. "You cannot marry him," he thundered. "This man, this Emeka, is not who you think he is. He will destroy you, just like he tried to destroy me." But Olaedo, calm and composed, stood her ground. "Father, I am not a child anymore. I know exactly what I am doing. Emeka offers me more than any other man. I have grown up in your shadow, but I will not be bound by your past conflicts. This is my life, and I chose him." Christian's face fell. He could see that his daughter's mind was made up. He had lost this battle, just as he had lost many battles with Emeka in the past. His heart broke, not only because of his daughter's decision, but because he knew that Emeka had finally struck back in the most powerful, painful way possible. The marriage between Emeka and Olaedo became the talk of the entire region. It was a grand affair attended by the elites from all walks of life: military officers, politicians, celebrities, and dignitaries. The union was seen as a powerful alliance, one that would shape the future of gwogwogwongwom and beyond. Christian, however, refused to bless the marriage. He could not bring himself to give his daughter away to the man who had haunted him for years, the man whose vengeance had taken the form of stealing the most precious person in his life. Despite this, the marriage went ahead. Christian found himself powerless to stop it. As Emeka stood at the altar with Olaedo, the sense of victory was undeniable. After years of waiting, he had finally taken from Christian something even more valuable than Ulimma, his daughter, his legacy. But as he looked into Olaedo's eyes, he realized that this marriage was not just about revenge, it was about building something new. Olaedo was not merely a pawn in his game against Christian. She was a partner, someone who shared his vision for power and influence, and together they would be unstoppable. Christian, watching from the sidelines, knew that he had lost again. He had spent years building his political empire, but in the end, the very man he betrayed had taken everything that mattered. He was left with nothing but the bitter taste of defeat, knowing that Emeka's victory was complete. Emeka, now married to Olaedo, had not only restored his honor, but had secured his future. The betrayal of the past no longer haunted him. Instead, he stood tall, victorious, with the Helen of Africa by his side. And this time, no one, not even Christian, could take that away from him. Christian's reaction to Emeka marrying his daughter Olaedo was a mix of rage, heartbreak, and helplessness. For years, he had been a powerful figure, a governor general, a man whose influence shaped the politics of the state. But in this moment, as he watched the man he once betrayed stand by his daughter's side, Christian felt powerless, defeated by the one person he had wronged. Olaedo's reaction to the entire situation was complex, shaped by her love for her father, her admiration for Emeka, and her desire for independence. As a strong, educated woman, Olaedo was not easily swayed by the emotional and political tensions between her father, Christian, and Emeka. She made her decisions thoughtfully, even as the conflict between the two men in her life escalated. As time went on, Olaedo's marriage to Emeka evolved into a powerful partnership. She became more than just the heroine of Africa or the most beautiful woman. She used her public influence, intelligence, and education to carve out a role for herself alongside Emeka's military strength. Together they became a formidable force, respected and feared in equal measure. In the end, Olaedo emerged as a woman of power in her own right, beautiful, intelligent, and aligned with one of the most influential men in the country. But she also knew that she had made the right choice for her future, even if it came at the cost of her relationship with her father. Ultimately, Olaedo's reaction was one of balance. She loved her father, but she refused to let his past dictate her future. She admired Emeka not just for his power, but for the way he respected her independence. And in the end, she carved out space for herself, becoming a key figure in the public. As Christian and Emeka entered their late 60s, the weight of time and intensity of their lifelong feud began to soften. The years had aged them both, and the bitterness that had once driven them apart slowly gave way to a shared sense of reflection. They had been powerful men in their prime, one a prominent politician, the other a revered military leader, but they now recognized that their lives had been shaped as much by their rivalry as by their accomplishments. Emeka's marriage to Olaedo, Christian's precious daughter, had been the final act of their saga. But as they grew older, both men realized that continuing to harbor anger was futile. They had both suffered losses. Emeka had lost Nneka, his first wife, when she could no longer endure the complexities of his relationship with Olaedo, while Christian had lost his daughter to his oldest enemy. But in the end, the rivalry seemed small compared to their lives they built, their families they had raised, and the legacy they would leave behind. It was Olaedo who played a critical role in their reconciliation. She had become a strong, influential woman, respected in both political and military circles, and her power bridged the gap between the two old men. She encouraged them to make peace, reminding them that their fight was no longer relevant to the world they lived in. She believed that they could not leave a legacy of bitterness and hatred for future generations. She wanted them to mend what had been broken and find closure in the years they had left. Their reconciliation was quiet and private, much like the friendship they had once shared. There were no grand public gestures, no apologies. There were quiet conversations over shared meals, late-night talks about their past mistakes, and a mutual recognition that they had both been shaped by a combination of their ambitions and their failures. They had once been the closest of friends, and now, in their old age, they found comfort in each other's presence once again. Both men died. Their deaths also underscored the importance of making amends and nurturing relationships while there is still time. Through her work and dedication, Olaedo ensured that Christian and Emeka's legacies would not be overshadowed by their earlier enmity, would instead be remembered for the strength, resilience, and lessons learned from their lives. This is the story, the real story of gwogwogwongwom.